gone. Oh, won't you point me so I can move along? Oh, won't you show me where I am supposed to go? Just another cowboy in the snow.
The Old West is slowly disappearing, leaving behind only nostalgic memories of life on the open range. Immortalized in story, song, and legend, cowboy adventures have never ceased to stir the imagination. Astride his horse, the cowboy rode off into the lonely landscape, self-reliant and independent. His 3 R's were ropin', ridin', and roundup. But without his horse, the cowboy would never have become a folk hero. An American artist, Arthur Roy Mitchell, captured the colorful life of the cowboy and the land where cattle barons once ruled the range. Mitchell knew it well. He was born in the 1880s in Trinidad, Colorado, a town that began along the Purgatory River. It was the rendezvous for explorers, trappers, and traders, but Trinidad was also known as one hell of a cow town.
Right now we're walking along the old famous Santa Fe Trail. Many famous people walk these roads. Kit Carson, of course, Bat Masterson was the marshal here in Trinidad, and many gunslingers traveled this part of the country along the Santa Fe Trail. And of course, this is the location of the Arthur Roy Mitchell Memorial Museum, where we have the bulk of his collection.
Here in this gallery and museum is Arthur Roy Mitchell's West, a legacy of hundreds of illustrations and paintings, thousands of sketches and notes. Although Mitchell is relatively unknown, he was one of America's foremost illustrators of Pulp and Western magazines. One of the founders of this memorial to Mitchell is Willard Loudon, artist and longtime resident of Trinidad.
I think that Mr. Mitchell can certainly be classed as one of America's great illustrators, great artists, for the simple reason that during that period of illustration, the 1920s, the 30s, and up into the 40s, that was the period when the great magazines such as Saturday Evening Post, Collier's, were going, but it was also the period of the pulp magazines, the pulp westerns. And Mitchell was the premier painter of those covers, those magazine covers.
Western pulp magazines were printed on cheap paper-like newsprint and sold for 10 to 20 cents a copy. To entice buyers, the covers were flashy action scenes. Raw-boned, sharpshooting cowboys, outlaws, cattle rustlers, and spirited horses depicted the exciting adventures of the Old West. Mitchell painted more than 150 of these illustrations for books and magazines.
In fact, Mitch told me that one time he walked into a New York newsstand and he found 19 of his magazine covers in 1 month. Now that's incredible. He was simply prodigiously producing magazine covers, Pulp and Western largely, of that period, and no one exceeded him in that particular realm.
Rarely did Mitch include women in his paintings, but this romantic cowboy often rescued the girl from the perils of an unruly horse. Mitch never married. He once wrote, "I prefer horses to most men, and certainly horses to women in general." Mitchell's assortment of cowboys were the heroes, weathered by the elements, faces framed by sweat-stained hats. They were strong and tough to match their spirited horses. Mitchell was recognized by publishing companies for his unusual ability as an illustrator, but this oil painting has placed Mitchell among the best artists of the West who followed Remington and Russell.
This particular painting is perhaps the most famous painting that Mitchell has done. The title is When Nights Were Long. There's a kind of quiet drama about it that makes this painting outstanding. He tells us in that one painting a great deal about the Old West and some of the good times and some of the difficulties that were involved here. The contrast between the cold, cool night colors and the warmth of the interior, I think speaks tomes for how the cowboy and the old-timer of that period lived in those warm moments in their otherwise pretty austere, harsh kind of life.
Mitchell was more than a cowboy artist. He saw history in the making. To unfold his life reveals why he was an outstanding painter who had a deep and abiding love for the West.
This is where it all began. Where we're standing now is where Mitch was born on his father's homestead in 1889. This is where he got his first inspiration, I believe, to be an artist. He took up the pencil here and began drawing at a very, very early age. He, of course, had these beautiful, beautiful pinyon trees and the grama grass that he talked so much about all of his life. He had the magnificent Fisher's Peak in the background here that was an inspiration to him, and certainly in his later years when he painted it, I'm sure this is the thing that he remembered from his early boyhood.
Homesteading for the early settlers was difficult in this rocky hill country covered with pinyon trees. The earth was not rich for farming, and nature was a savage adversary. So when Mitch was 11 years old, the family moved to this house in Trinidad.
He was very close to town, had the opportunity to go downtown and see what was happening, visit with the old-timers, some of the old-time settlers, some of the old trappers, some of the old cowboys that used to come into town, and it was a very exciting part of his life. An interesting aspect of this particular location is that this is the location where he first acquired his first set of paints. A neighbor lady was moving to California, and she didn't want to take her paints with her, so she gave them to Mitch.
At age 17, Mitch became a hired hand with the Adams Cattle Company, a big spread in the New Mexico territory. Wherever he went, he took along his sketchbook. Joe Lopez, who knew Mitch for more than 60 years, recalls a story about this young artist turned cowboy.
Mitch was he started to work for this Romeo Park. Thought he wanted to be a cowboy, and he kind of wanted to draw a little bit, and they like work, you know. They don't want to sell out to fool around. So he just worked 1 month and he quit.
Mitch was destined to be an artist. In 1925, he went to New York and enrolled in the Grand Central School of Art. Each summer, he would return to Trinidad. He called himself a Model A cowboy, joining cattle outfits where he could paint and sketch and be a part-time wrangler. At the height of his career as an illustrator, Mitch developed cancer. He returned home to regain his health in the Stonewall Valley west of Trinidad.
We're in the beautiful Stonewall Valley country, perhaps the most beautiful area in all of Colorado, and provides many, many, many settings for the painting of landscapes, for Mitchell landscapes.